think the only one we might be missing is Rob, and I kind of remember that maybe trying to remember if he told me he was going to make it or not. So I know that Mike won't be here today. He just emailed me. He's in Yellowstone. So, all right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our May board meeting. I do have a potential revision to the agenda. I don't know if you all want this as a discussion item. We have a lot to talk about today, and I'm only going to be here for the first 45 minutes. Unfortunately, I've got an interview that I've got to do here at 3 o'clock. So I apologize for stepping out of the meeting early. Gail will be taking over for me when I've got to leave. I had seen that there's some discussion that needs to be done on the MGAC, or however you want to say it, grants. It sounds like those grants have been rescinded for this year, and they're due to some funding issues. And I don't know if we want to talk about that all, or if that's a topic for another meeting. Any thoughts?
What would we talk about? There's no funding.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if they're, yeah.
So would it just be for upcoming grants, or I guess I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm also not sure actually what would be discussed.
You're right. Maybe there'll be more clarification. Aaron just joined, and it sounds like it's a better discussion for another meeting on when the grants will be available again. So,
okay.
All right, with that, I'll go ahead and on to approval of the meeting minutes. We have two different sets of minutes to approve: the March 19th official board meeting, and then the member meeting from April 18th. Thank you, Hillary, for the minutes. I reviewed them and they look good. Does anybody have any changes or updates or a motion to approve both of those minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the board minutes of March 19th and April 18th.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric Spangenberg. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Eric Schreier. Seeing that we have a motion a second, do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please state aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The minutes for the March 19th meeting and the April 18th meeting have been unanimously approved. We'll move on to the next business. Just wanted to say thank you to those board members whose terms are ending this year. That's Eric and Mike Item. Am I missing anybody else? All right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you both for your work on this board. Your support of GIS in the state of Montana has been really well done, and I appreciate all the effort that you've put in during your terms. Do you guys have anything you want to say?
I guess I can just say thanks to all of you. It's been a really fun experience. I was definitely going to consider staying on if I knew I wasn't going to be so busy next year. But yeah, it's really been fun.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, and I guess I'll add more when we get to my chunk here.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the board. Yeah, my job has been ramping up quite a bit, and it's harder and harder to find time to participate. And maybe in the future I'll run for the board again.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Mike Powell was going to go over the election results. I have not seen them. Michelle, do you have the ability to pull them up within Wild Apricot so we can take a look at the election results and approve them?
I think so.
I'll stop sharing my screen and let you share if that's all right.
Yeah, I can just look over here. I think I have the ability to look.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Michelle.
No, that's okay. Let me just get in there real quick. Sorry, I had to change my password and it's not auto-populating in. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen. So it was done through the polling feature. Is that what you said?
Yeah, let me get to Mike's email and see what he said.
Get that little thing out of my way.
Said you go to the polls in Wild Apricot. Yep.
Is this what you want to see?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the results. We have Megan as our web administrator, Helen for our member development, Jeff Hedstrom for the conference committee, and approval of the updated bylaws. I would take a motion to approve those results, and then I will work with Mike and Gail to get, or it's my responsibility to get that information on to the winners or all of those who's applied. So I will get an email out to them letting them know, and then we can work on orientation for these folks. So does anybody have any discussion, or do I have a motion and a second to approve the election results?
Hey, Michelle, can you scroll down a bit more? I'm just curious about those bylaws.
Mhm.
Oh, we actually had one person against them. Oh, interesting. I can imagine who the two are that abstained there. Well, cool. Yeah. I would make a motion. I'm sorry, Jeff. I'd make a motion to approve the election results as shared this afternoon, and move that I guess the past president reach out to all newly elected members.
All right, it's been moved by Eric Spangenberg to approve the election results and have the past president reach out to those people who were in the elections. Do I have a second on that motion?
This is Nate, and I can second.
All right, we have a second by Nate Wold. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the approval of the elections? Hearing no. Oh. Just noticed that there people must have dropped out. Sorry. That's one thing that I would fix going forward, is that we don't have to approve people coming into the meeting, that they just automatically can come in. It looks like a couple people dropped out and we had a couple people come in, so I apologize for that. So just we're on the point of the agenda where the election results have been approved. It's been moved and seconded to do that. Is there any Discussion on approval of those results.
So Tessa and I both got kicked off and I wasn't even here for you to start the meeting. So could you catch us up?
So let me get to the agenda. We approved the minutes and we are now into approving the election results. So we went through the election results. I'm sorry about that. It just, the pop-up for admitting people, the way my computer's set up, I don't see it very well. And so I apologize for not letting people in. So earlier.
And we can fix that setting, Jeff, so that it just automatically lets people in.
Okay. All right. Unless there's no discussion, we'll go ahead to the vote on approving the election results. All those in favor of approving the election results state aye.
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 All opposed,
Aye.
same. It's unanimous to approve. There was a unanimous approval of the election results. Gail, I'll be working with you to notify the folks that ran for the elections and let them know the results. So, and then we can work on orientation and getting all that cool stuff started. All right. Let's see. Back to the agenda. Okay, so, we also did a thank you to Eric and Mike for their contribution as board members and as they're stepping off the board. All right. The next agenda topic is SIG users, or SIG user group for parcels. I believe this is some feedback that we got at the Big Sky GeoCon and the member meeting. Does anybody want to talk about what this could look like, and do we have anybody that would be interested in leading the SIG group?
So I can offer a comment, if nothing else, because it's a question that interests me in part because, we may have different topics within the local government group. And depending on the level of interest, they may rise from, being just like one or two presentations to, okay, we need to have a cohesive, kind of working group associated with that. In the past, the one topic that rose to that level was Next Gen 911, where Tommy essentially scheduled a working session just for Next Gen 911 local government users to focus just on that topic for one or two sessions outside of the normal monthly flow. And so the question I have is, whether, if topics like parcels or, another one recently is like land use planning has risen up as a topic that seems to be gaining more energy in local government. When do we find that boundary between creating a whole new SIG or like creating a working group within an existing SIG to contain that?
I think that's a great point, Andrew. There is a decent amount of work that's done in your SIG group on parcels, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like that's actually the next topic in June will be a joint presentation between Mike Snook and Jeff Hedstrom on the impact of the parcel fabric on the cadastral and local government data or county data. And so, I, the feedback that you received about the parcel fabric, was that through the member survey?
I'm trying to remember when Mike and Gail and I processed this. I think it was through the member survey, and I think there were some comments potentially from the Big Sky survey. Gail, do you remember?
No, I don't remember. Sorry, Jeff, you're going out a little bit of order of the
Yeah, I know.
agenda.
I forgot something. I forgot this right here. Yes, I just realized.
And appointed vice president, did we talk about that?
Appoint.
Well, Jeff, how about we just take a pause if you want
Okay.
to on the sake, then go back to the other parts. I can,
Yeah,
this will be thing I can wait on later on.
yeah, I'm sorry for throwing everybody off there. I did skip. I just saw the approval and then went on to the next bullet point. So we do not have a vice president or did not have a vice president candidates run. So the board is responsible. Let me just move over to the bylaws, see if I can do that real quick, somehow moving this. Yep. So we do not have anybody that ran for the vice president. So here are the section 6 of our bylaws state that in case of a disability, resignation, removal of board member, the board shall have the authority to make an appointment for the association to fill a vacancy. If the vice president position is vacated, the board may appoint a new vice president from among its at-large members to serve until the next election. So, so I'm talking here section 6, and then the section within section 6 that talks about the vice president. So to me, I don't know if we need bylaw clarifications, but it sounds like we have the ability to appoint somebody either within the board or from without the or outside of the board. So any thoughts there?
I haven't had anybody express a desire to run for the vice president. I just wonder if anybody else on the board has heard or has any suggestions.
Yes, I'm wondering, do we, seeing as, we're at a little bit of a standstill, do we need, or must we, I guess those are two different things. As a functioning organization, are we required to have somebody in that position at this point? That's one part. And then the other part is practically, can we continue to function without that role being filled?
I think the answer to your question is yes, we can function without that. In thinking through my term as the vice president, the big thing was to be there to fill in for meetings if the president was not able to make that meeting, and then also scheduling the strategic planning session. I don't know, Gail, am I missing anything else on the vice president's duties?
No, I really think that it's just like, be here so you can learn what the role is. And sort of baptism by fire when you need to step up. So, yeah, I don't think that it's an issue to move forward. But I think if you wouldn't mind going back to your agenda, I mean, I think this is kind of twofold because the next agenda item is that Jeff is stepping down as past president. And so we need to address those, and that kind of goes hand in hand because the suggestion has been made that Mike Powell could be continuing on as past president. I think it would be a really, really big deal to not have a vice president and a past president. So maybe those are the two things that we could consider at the same time. And that approval for Mike's Powell to be continuing on does need board approval. So Jeff, if you wouldn't mind going back once again to the document that you were just on, because it's section 6. If the president position is vacated, the vice president assumes, but then if the vice president position is vacated, the board may appoint it's the top one. In case of a disability, resignation, or removal of board member from the board shall have the authority to make an appointment from the association membership to fill the vacancy. So I think that gives us the authority to manage the past president position. It also looks like it gives us authority to appoint a vice president when there's a person that's willing to step into that role. But my personal feeling is we need to take care of the past president role first, because we don't have a person that's willing to step into the vice presidency.
Right, right. Well, if Mike Powell is willing to do that, I think that would be an easy stroke of the pen to make that happen.
We've asked him and he is.
Well, there we go. Do we need to vote on that?
So I think from what I've heard so far is we are fine without having a vice president, and we're okay with Mike stepping into the past president, or continuing on in the past president role. Is that the sentiment I'm hearing? And would somebody offer a motion for that?
Yeah, I
Can
think
we
that's
ask
fine.
around about the past president or the vice president? I mean, because I feel like if we can fill it, we should.
Well, moving forward with Mike Powell stepping in as past president would not prevent us from continuing to try to fill the vice president role, right? But it would fill one of the gaps.
Yeah, and Jeff, I think they just should be two separate motions. Just for the good of the order, I think a motion to appoint Mike back in as past president, I think should be one motion, and then I think the other one should be handled separately.
Okay.
Well, I will make a motion to appoint Mike Powell as past president.
It's been moved by Rob All to approve Mike Powell or allow Mike Powell to continue as the past president. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, it's
This
been
is my item.
second by Mike Item. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Just, sorry, are you allowing public comment right now?
Sure, Aaron.
I just want to, I'm looking out for you right now, Jeff. If you're running the meeting and you appoint him as a vice president, are you still allowed to continue to run the meeting and he's not in the meeting? Or is this like, are you putting like a date and time on this?
So it will be, I'm still the president and I'm not stepping down as president. That my term will end here at the end of the month.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to cover you. I'm
No,
like,
yep.
okay.
Yep.
I don't, okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I should have clarified that. Thank you, Aaron. Hearing no discussion, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion for Mike Powell as continuing as past president, please state aye.
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 All opposed to the motion, same sign. All right, it was passed unanimously. Just before we move and kind of finish out the thoughts on the vice president, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to serve on the Magip board these last 2 years, and I apologize for not fulfilling my term through the next year with my change in job. It's just, and especially since we still haven't hired a GIS coordinator, the time to do this, to be on the board just isn't there anymore. And it's just been a really wonderful experience to work with all of you, to see how vibrant and how hard GIS professionals are working across the state of Montana. And that comes from having things like the state library to having such a strong user group or professional group here in the state of Montana. I just want to thank you all for allowing me to hang around you all for the last 3 or 4 years. So.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, but you've been nothing but professional. We love having you.
Trust me, this was not an easy decision to make. And my boss was like, I know what you want to do, but I think you should do this. So, and he was right. So.
Hey, Jeff, out of on the ballot, was there 2 positions that were contested? Were there 2 different positions that had 2 different people running?
I think there was only one contested, and that was the conference one.
Okay. I was just wondering if there was any viable options from that might, if they didn't win the position, for if they might be interested in.
So you've got Matt there, right? And I got a chance to talk to him at the conference and see him in his booth. I was pretty impressed. And it would also be nice to have more people from the private sector on our board. So what are the board's thoughts on that opportunity?
I didn't have the chance to talk to Matt, but everyone that I spoke with who did said that he seemed pretty enthusiastic about participating. So that could be worth reaching out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not directly opposed, but I do feel like we have a larger pool to draw on, you know, and I do believe we should re-advertise that particular position. It's kind of a big deal, and I think it warrants a little bit of, you know, trolling the membership to see what we can pull out of there. And, you know, if there really is interest and he continues to apply for that, then, because those are very different roles, right? I mean, conference chair versus a 3-year commitment.
Yes. Yeah, he'd have to be consulted, and you're right. There's a large group of professionals out there that might be interested in this opportunity, especially if we send out an email asking for those, so, or for that. Gail, are you back?
I am. Apparently Tessa got bumped as well. We're hearing that the internet at the city's really sketched today. Although I'm at home, so I have no excuses. Yeah, I actually have. Rob, were you suggesting that the person that ran for the conference liaison be considered for the VP?
I'm certainly open to them being considered. I just thought that it wouldn't hurt to re-advertise the notion that we are, looking for a vice president, and we could certainly, encourage that person to apply for that position. But I'm not necessarily advocating that we just throw them into that position because they're so vastly different.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Oh my gosh, did you guys lose me again?
No, you're still here, Gail.
No,
Sorry,
you're there.
everybody froze for a second. I was like, dang, 3 times a charm. Feeling a little sensitive here.
So, no, this is,
I like
yeah.
I like the idea of putting it out there, like just using our social media contacts and putting it out there one more time. I just think that for whatever reason, there were no takers. Generally, we promote for that when we're at the hi Aaron, you can go.
Oh, what I was gonna say is, you could ask past presidents to give good reasons why they'd step up, and, being a past president, I could like you could use that on social media, like, you know, why should you run for president or why take this position? And that might help with marketing. Kind of
I
our
love that idea.
testimonials from past presidents.
Yeah, that'd be great to wrap something like that into the advertisement.
Yeah. And then I can't remember the gal's name, but the social media gal, she does such pretty
Alicia.
visuals. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too. I think we've kind of converged on that. I just want to point out we're about halfway through our meeting time. So, you know,
Yes.
maybe we should, I think that's good. I think we've really come to a good decision here. We've solidified the fact that we have past president in place. We need to advertise for a vice president. And we can continue to function in our organization.
Sounds good. I will move forward with advertising the vice president position to our membership and using past presidents' feedback on what it's like to be a vice president, president, and past president to encourage folks to apply. All right. Is it all right if we move back onto the SIG SIG conversation, or do we want to have an actual vote on the vice president appointment?
Based,
all right, hearing no further discussion, let's go ahead and move on. So we were talking, Andrew was talking about the local government SIG and it's kind of how it dovetails into the to the idea for a parcel SIG. We can continue on that discussion.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to suggest that potentially, you know, both the parcel and the LiDAR discussions could be absorbed into local government SIG until we get such time as we actually get some people who really want to get motivated enough to actually run their own SIG. Because, you know, I'm always looking for content. And, you know, if we want to be able to have, you know, a series of presentations on parcel fabrics or parcels or, you know, technical discussions, same thing with LiDAR, you know, it really comes down to the will of the people. If enough people want to band together and form their own SIG, then they're responsible for doing it. It shouldn't be up to, you know, Magip to find that out for them. If they really, really want that energy, then they should express an interest and then they go from there. At least that's my opinion on it. Because, you know, I have both LiDAR and parcels fabric and just addressing and parcels in general have great value to local government. But I do know that they have other people at other levels too. And Aaron, I would invite your feedback on how you see the relationship between like MSDI and sort of the state library in that perspective compared to local government topics.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk. I think that's a good question too. So I think, well, each MSDI theme has a respective working group that they can call on in times you know, where they're trying to make a decision, or they can have in perpetuity. Like it's just sometimes it's just at the leisure of the theme lead and, you know, what's going on at the time. And so we do have an elevation working group. It is not it's not really active right now. We're kind of we're concentrating our efforts on imagery. We have a cadastral framework working group. we have land use, and there's some other ones we're trying to, I guess, get up off the ground and more action on. But so I think that there's a couple different reasons why we have the working group to help inform the council and the commission and the state library on policy, best practice development standards and whatnot. And so I think that there could be a need to basically work together with a group from Magip, but perhaps I could see like a parcels working group from Magip be more about like how to use the data or something like that. How to manage the data, issues with the technology. And so I could see that they could partner together. I'm sorry, whether it's a user group from Magip or a SIG. And so typically I think in the past, a SIG was created because there was an action that was trying to be completed. And so I'm still not too clear on the differences between a user group and a SIG from Magip. And it's, usually you come in, it's like maybe there's legislation or there's a policy that needs to be reviewed or a standard. The SIG, I think the SIG I was a part of recently was the about membership. And so I think I would just, put the question back to the board, like, well, how do you want to use these groups that you guys have in your bylaws moving forward? Because technically a SIG is only supposed to be open to membership, and a user group can be open to, I think, anyone. So what does that look like moving forward? And I think that those are some of the questions that I have. But I see either one of those groups could be working with an MSDI working group. And I could see that maybe an MSDI working group isn't going to fulfill all the needs that perhaps a Magip user group or SIG group could help, I guess, fill the gap there. Like it could be educational based, it could be use based. So I think that there's partnership opportunities. Unfortunately, I don't have all the answers, but that's some of my feedback that I have right now. And I really, Andrew, I got to say, I really appreciate you keeping it going. And it's important for us to stay in contact with local governments. It's so important as a part. I mean, you guys are our data partners, and it's such an important need for our work. So we really highly value the SIG that you're managing now.
Yeah, I think those are some good points, both Andrew and Aaron. I think one of the things that you brought to the forefront here, Aaron, is we've got a couple of different formats going on, right? We've got the user group concept and the SIG concept, and they're similar but different. So you could be a member of a user group without being a member of Magip or being involved in Magip at all. But the same isn't true for the special interest group. I also am a little concerned about a proliferation of special interest groups, because as Andrew will attest, it's difficult to generate enough content to keep it viable. And so, yeah, like if there's a need, people can coalesce around that need and generate action or response to things. But otherwise, it's hard to have a standing, ongoing thing. So, and another good point Andrew made was, there are multiple topics that can be addressed in in a special interest group, right? So at local government level, you could be talking about the parcel fabric, you could be talking about integrating imagery and LiDAR. So, yeah, part of me feels like, broadening the scope of a special interest group and not having multiple special interest groups. Like, yeah. I think we have an imagery special interest groups that I advocated for starting, and I don't think we've ever had a meeting in 11 years.
mean, the one caveat that I can see would be that if there were members of a topic area that are, for example, like in the private sector, um, you know, I have not done a whole lot of emphasis on inviting presentations or much, uh, significant participation from the private sector, although I have a few people who listen in to the meetings. But if there's a, um, if, striking a balance between, I tend to like oppose the idea of like marketing or advertising within the SIG with government, but at the same time, um, having, presentations by private sector on a particular uh, tool for a particular topic, like addressing or something. If it seems beneficial to the group, uh, and points them in a direction, then that might be the way to invite that. Um, Gail, I know that you were kind of in and out there for a little bit. We were just talking about parcel fabric and LiDAR SIGs and kind of lumping them into the local government group as a vehicle for now, unless there's a significant amount of energy from those individuals to run their own meetings. And
I like the idea of that. Is the idea that you would like do all three of them every time you had a meeting, or would you alternate local government and then the parcel fabric and then the LiDAR, which I think would also be awesome. I think one of the reasons that I would advocate for that is that I think that it would get people into the meeting to learn about things that they maybe wouldn't be willing to go to if it was a special meeting. Yeah, I guess I was able to log on right when Erin was talking about, and did we just lose her? Oh no. The difference between the special interest group versus the working group, or I'm sorry, the special interest group versus
sort of
a
the
user
MSCI.
group, right? And I do think that that's something that we should have a conversation about, not necessarily in this forum, but maybe via some email, because there's been conversation about building the Magip membership and what that Magip membership means. And if we're going to be having this local user group, do we just want everybody to be able to participate? And what does that look like in the future for Magip? And especially if you're talking about rolling in the parcel fabric and also rolling in the LiDAR. I mean, I think that needs to be established, what you want that to look like as a board, right? And moving forward. And I think that it probably requires quite a significant conversation.
I have, this is cool. I like the way this conversation's going, and I'm forming sort of an interesting vision here. Look, one of the things that we can't do everything. Magip can't do everything. We have a hard time, and we want to, but we can't. But there are other groups that are doing things. I'm wondering, look, there are all these other user groups, especially, that Erin just described, I don't know, working groups, user groups, those kinds of things that are open to all kinds of people. They can attend them as they see fit and as the need is there. We could use the special interest group configuration that we currently have as like a coordination body, right? So people are attending the imagery working group. They're attending the LiDAR working group. They're attending the, cadastral working group. And we use the special interest group component of Magip to sort of coordinate those activities. We put out messages. We say, hey, these things are happening. When there's something that needs addressing, where the Magip membership needs to step in and address those particular components, we can do that in special interest group entity. I don't know. It's not very well thought out, but kind of a thing. You know, this way, so we don't have 5, 6, 7, 10 different special interest groups with 2 or 3 or 5 attendants. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's only so many GIS professionals in the state, and squirreling them away in different little entities,
I mean,
it's hard to manage.
yeah, I mean, I like the idea of essentially using the local government SIG group as sort of an incubator where, you know, because Gail, I'm not necessarily talking about like alternating between local government and then just SIG. It's more like using local government because there are enough users that may have an interest in LiDAR or in the cadastral or fabric that I can use that vehicle to say, okay, who would like to present on something or have a focused discussion of like a panel of 2 or 3 different presenters on their experiences or whatever, and then that knowledge gets shared with other local government users. Or having an opportunity to bring in the MSBI theme lead from, or the working group lead from the state library to offer their input, you know, in a session, and that helps me have more ideas for content and be able to build out the schedule. Because Gail, that was something that you and I were talking about at the conference, was the vision of how to, you know, fill the schedule going forward.
I like all this. I also recognize that we're on a schedule, and I know everybody really would like to, Megan said she has to run. People are already having to pop off. Jeff, do you need to pop off?
Yep, I do. So
Okay.
I'm just going to leave my Zoom running unless Michelle, if you can log in as the Magip administrator for Zoom and then kick me off. I don't know if it works that way. So
You should just be able to make me just one of us, even me or Gail, just like a co-host. If you just go up to like Gail or me and click on those little 3, hover over the picture, and there's like a blue box with 3 dots.
okay.
If you click on that, does it give you the option to make somebody else a host?
Make host. Okay. All right, I did that for Gail, so Gail should be the host now.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So you could change it to Michelle. I know you've been having internet. I just couldn't do that for Michelle because she was speaking and I couldn't get the 3 dots. So, so anyway, I've got to go. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Jeff.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay. So, sorry, you guys. I'm hopefully I won't get kicked again, but let's do this. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Are you on the screen? Or is it the agenda?
It's both. Yep. You can see
Oh, goodness, you got both of them. Okay, sorry about that. Let me stop
we
share
can
for a second.
No, we
Okay.
can see the agenda, but we can also see ourselves, which is how it usually is.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to screen 1 and share screen 1. And then you can see the agenda, and I'll get the chat off of there. Okay, I know you guys, we have like 8 minutes to keep this under an hour. And I know that many of you are really concerned about that, and I don't disagree with you. I guess I need to follow up on a couple things before we get out of this meeting so that I know how to move forward. Could we briefly go back to the appointment of the vice president? Did you guys make a decision about that?
I think we said we are going to try to re-advertise that. We'll use the social media component. We will get some testimonials from previous people in that role.
Okay, is there somebody that would like to take that on to work with, is it Alicia?
Alicia.
Alicia, so that they can put that together?
I can help out.
Thank you, Hillary. I would love it if you could do that. So Hillary is going to take that. And then I also would like to make sure, was the appointment of Mike Powell as acting past president voted on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'm so sorry, you guys. My internet has been sketchy today, and so has Tessa's. Okay, let's go through here. How about one more thing on this idea about the special interest groups versus the user groups versus the parcel fabric and the LiDAR? I would like to have a bigger discussion about this, and the way that I'd like to have this discussion is via a Magip Board of Directors email chain. So I'm going to put together an email. I'm going to send it out to the Magip board, and then I would love for all of you to put in your ideas. We'll let it go for like a week, maybe a week and a half. And then whatever comes out of that email, we'll bring it to the next board meeting and make a decision about how we're going to move forward with regards to the special interest group, user group, LiDAR, parcel fabric. Jeff, if I could ask you very quickly, if you're still on and listening, can you give me an update on the parcel fabric about how you're feeling with regards to that being part of that MSL? And maybe Aaron and you already addressed this while I was off. He's not popping on.
Yeah, she's not with us anymore. She had to leave.
Yeah, and Jeff's not here either. Okay. We have 5 minutes. I'm going to go through the Big Sky GeoCon debrief. I don't think we have time to do that unless you guys tell me otherwise. We could do that first and then skip the reports. Or is that it? Okay, would you guys like to do that? I see Andrew shaking his head, but nobody else has their camera on. Thumbs up?
Yes, let's do the
Sounds
debrief.
great.
Okay, let's do the debrief and then we'll go 5 minutes. All right, conference chair, Eric, please give us the debrief.
Yeah, so my debrief, I guess, would also be the report. We met 2 weeks ago to go over the survey from the conference, and I'd say overall it was very much enjoyed by those who responded. I feel like the big takeaway I got from reading all the responses is kind of the usual, where it's like things that are almost venue limited, and like how we work with the space. It's a lot of comments regarding that, because like in Bozeman there were comments about the poster session and kind of same for Billings. So and then the open source was another big theme. Those are the only big themes that I pulled out of the survey.
Okay, Michelle, do you want to give us an update? And then Nate, if Michelle doesn't answer all those questions, we'll let you do it. Do you want me to stop sharing, Michelle?
I don't really have anything to pull up and show because I didn't realize we were doing that today.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Was there anything specific you wanted me to go over? I know that we went over the survey results, like Eric said, at our final debrief meeting.
Yep.
We went over the final budget. So yeah, if there's something specific you want me to go over.
Could you go over the final budget? I'm sorry, Michelle. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay. Yep. Let me pull it up real quick. I mean, overall, I think we're. Sorry, I like moved on to my next. I think overall we were like upwards of 10,000 in the black, but let me double check. So our bottom line, and Nate, comparing to my bottom line, because I do a separate conference budget, we were close to $20,000 in the black. So I don't know if there's anything specific The sponsored exhibitor income, as you know, we increased those fees this year, and so we're like $6,500 what we budgeted. And then registration revenue was about $4,000 over what we budgeted. Workshop revenue was about the same as last year, maybe a little bit over. So we budgeted 71,000 in actual revenue, and we actually came in at about 81,000.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions for Michelle?
So we're in the black. That's great. That's positive. That moves forward with things. Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me was looking at the sponsorship revenue. This year from the 2024 sponsorship revenue, we had around $21,000, which is like 10,000 more than what we've seen the past 3 years. So, and I don't know, Michelle, do you know if we had more sponsors at the Billings GeoCon, or was that a result of changing those sponsorship categories? Because I think we did add some categories that were much higher in price this year.
Yeah, we did. We had about the same amount of sponsors as we did last year, maybe one more, but we had increased we added a couple other levels and increased the amounts on the others. So that's where you see that difference.
Okay, so I'm taking over the presidency. Jeff has stepped down. We're going to get together. So Mike Powell and I are going to get together now that you've approved him. Thank you for doing that. To get some new invitations out for the coming year. So next steps, we're going to have a meeting for all the new people that have been elected. And then the next meeting will be in June in Bozeman. If you don't have that on your calendar, please reach out to me. And I would just like to ask, it's 3 o'clock straight up. We still haven't gone through the treasurer's reports. Please let me know with either a thumbs up or a yes or a head shake if you want to keep going, or if you would like to just end the meeting now and we can send updates of the reports out in an email.
I have another meeting I have to go to.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I need to hop off as well.
Okay. Okay, do we still have a quorum if Eric and Mike drop off?
I could stick around for a bit.
Okay. What is?
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you so
Mike.
much for everything you've done. And Eric, you too.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like this has just been such a rush meeting, and I apologize for the kind of on and off and on and off again. What I would like to tell you all before you go is that I'd like to meet with each one of you before our next meeting. So I do already have some appointments on the calendar. I'm going to be meeting with Mike Powell. I'm going to be meeting with Michelle. I'm going to be meeting with Helen. And if I have not reached out to you yet, it's not, oh, Nate, I think you and I spoke, Karen, and we also are planning on meeting. So just so that you know what's coming, a couple things that I'd like to make some decisions about before we get into the room, so we're not scrambling for time to get decisions made, right? So the email conversations are going to be a way that I reach out to all of you. I'd like to do some more outreach using Alicia to get out to the Magip constituency so that they know what's happening. I'd also like to put together a map, like a monthly map that we can use on social media from all the work that's being done in the community. Helen and I, Michelle and I, Eric and I and Nate and I have talked about some of the issues that we had this last year leading up to the conference, and how the handling of the budget with regards to the students became such a big deal. And maybe some ways that we can make it better. So be on the lookout for an email from me or a phone call from me. We'll catch up on all of the reports at our, like I said, well, you know what I'll do? I'll reach out to each of you and put together a report and email it to you, to the Magip board, so that you have it if you're interested in anything. If I've missed something, let me know.
We didn't have a chance.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have a new year on the Magip board. I'm super stoked about moving into the presidency. I'm a little bit concerned about the vice presidency, but I think that we can handle that. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I love the idea of working with Michelle, the local user group, all those special interest groups and user groups that are out there. We can make it work. I think that there's a place for all of that. But to Rob's point, we can't do it all. So let's just manage the chaos. That's how I feel. And then if I could get somebody to approve closing the meeting, please.
Yeah, I would just like to coordinate with Nate really quickly. Nate, did we get a check out to
And
the
really do like
education grant
I still want to,
recipient?
to me, there's value.
That was the Montana Discovery Foundation.
Yes.
No, not yet.
Okay, let's try to do that soon.
Okay.
But
Okay, any other unfinished business? No. Okay, can somebody close the meeting?
I would move that we close the Magip board meeting of May 21st.
Anybody second that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I hope that the next meeting is more smooth, and I'll see you in person in Bozeman.
You'll have
Right.
more time in Bozeman, Gail.
Don't let me talk too much. I will.
Send that invite
All right, you
out?
guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Eric.
You want to send that invite out? I just noticed I don't see it on my calendar. So,
Yes, I will. And I'll make
Thank
sure
you.
all the new people are on it as well.
all right,
Okay.
perfect.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Bye.
Bye, thank you.